All right, good morning. Oh, git pull. Oh, classic git push. Yes. Let's see. Where were we? We were not working on this. We were working on. Yeah, here we are. Where is our overview? Cool. Yeah, we were working on the authentication, and we basically got it running. What we really need to do is look at the component that's. Oh my god, I'm a little bit. We have like one 4-year-old and one who's like 2 months year old. A 2 month. Yeah, a 2-month-year-old. Is that how we say it? And he cries at night sometimes. And if the timing is bad, he cries around like 5, 6 in the morning, which then wakes up our 4-year-old, which then can't get back to sleep and wakes me up. And then I have a really bad start on the day and my head is like super heavy. Oh my god. But we'll try to get through this. And it's really annoying. It's bad timing because I have a couple of really important meetings today. But that's the way it is with kids, young kids. Be prepared if you have any plans to jump into that stuff. It's rough sometimes. Anyways, I'll stop complaining about that. And let's see, here we are. This is the dev auth component, and it's actually doing quite a bit of logic inside the component. And we're going to remove that. We're only going to render UI here, and then we're going to make this logic of actually logging in a part of our authentication feature. So let's see, maybe we should just render something first. And what I see here is, yeah, maybe we can just copy this over and then we'll just remove what we don't have. OMG, I'm a little bit dizzy as well. I think we'll get through this. Navigator, what's it called? Development authentication. We don't have style system. We don't have this components protocol. We don't have any of this. Oops. We don't have theme. Let's call this development authentication. We don't have that stuff. We don't have the theme there. Blah, blah, blah. We don't have the theme provider. We don't have this element. Let's remove. Oh, we need something there. Let's use like a div instead. We don't have this. We don't have this. Let's just use divs here and remove styling and stuff. Div. Let's div it up. Div. This is an input. This is a button. Okay, cool. Let's remove whatever is not like valid here. Block line. None of these things. None of these things. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so this. So we definitely want to use, let's see, auth equals use auth. Is that what we call it? Yeah. And then we have a new thing here. We have CLI login. Oh, Yeah, we actually need to create that page as well, I think. No, because this is pointing to production. So let's move to our environment, and then let's insert. So this would be, well, it's not like CLI endpoint. It's related to this specific authentication. So there is a page called CLI login, which should be like implemented here at some point. But also we can change the base domain for that related to sign in. So it would be like something like authentication CLI endpoint. Something like that. Yeah. HTTPS Codesandbox IO. So we'll just do this. For now, we have some weird, not weird, but we have some environment variables that doesn't really make sense. Like what does this mean? When is this set? It's a little bit tricky. I think it's better to have like base environment variables, and then you rather have like this an environment where you explicitly set the different things related to the environment. Like I'm not saying it's better. It's just sometimes you do have to have specific environment variables, and especially for security reasons. But anyways, for URLs and stuff, I think it's just easy. Well, I guess if you within the same like node environment, maybe you have different endpoints, but that's kind of weird to me. Anyways, enough about that. I don't know the history here, so cool. So now we have that, and what we need to do is we need to set the authentication code, and that's something we can do inside a component. We don't have to do that within the auth feature. It doesn't really care about what's in that input. So let's, what was it? Is it called auth code? Yeah, set auth code. Oh, auth code. React. Use state. That's perfectly okay. And then we're going to say, yeah, environment. We don't have a provider for our environment. But yeah, we don't really need that because we're actually going to, we're not going to do this. Window open. We're opening. Let me just look at this. Oh, this is interesting. So here we are getting the JVT token. And if this is a pop-up, we post to that. This is where the sign-in message is coming from. How should we do this? When do we get the JVT token? Oh, I see. Okay, so this is this shows the input, or here we have the input, but then there's a link so that you can actually trigger yet another pop-up, which gives you the authentication token. And then you can copy that, put it into this input, we submit that token. So here we would have like an action that would allow you to, let's call it on submit. what we want to do here, we basically want to say auth. We kind of want to sign in, or let's see. Yeah, we can say verify auth code. Why do we call it auth code? It's the token. Yeah. JVT token, set JVT token. Let's rename those. Rename symbol, JVT token. This is what I hate, not hate, but what I think is super important in code is to be consistent about what are you actually talking about. Like having multiple names for the same thing is really, really bad in code in general, really. So like spending time on agreeing and thinking about what you're naming things is super, super important, because it can get really confusing. So for example, I'm working on something now where we have what we call a client ID, but the client ID is actually a token. So it's received as a token on a header, and then we use that, but then suddenly we call it the client ID. And I don't like that. It's a token, so let's just call it the token. So it's no question like, oh, where does this client ID come from? Well, how do we create it? If it says token, then you know it's a token. Anyways, so we basically just want to verify the JVT token. Maybe we don't even need this. We can just do that. Yeah, this is set JVT token. There we have the on click. Cool. And then error. Yeah, this is interesting because now we're complicating our state once more in our auth, because we also have we don't only have like a sign-in thing. Maybe we should have a separate feature called development auth. I think so, because that will have its own set of states. I think that would be valuable. So we don't require auth here. We'll rather use development auth. Okay, I think we're just going to do that. So let's create that feature. We have auth, and then we'll add a new feature here called development auth. Cool. And let's just put it somewhere. This is kind of separate, so I don't think it actually needs to be connected to anything. Yeah, let's just put it up here. Let's put it there. Anyways, it needs to be a state machine. And we want it to be a singleton. Yeah. Okay, cool. So what are we actually going to do here? We are going to first set... Oh, I want the context to come first. Where is our reactive app? By the way, we don't have that much time today because I need to... I mentioned I have a couple of meetings and I need to prepare with my reduced brain. Insert type alias. Oh. Oh, okay. They should be in the other order. Okay. Because now we insert that one at that thing, and then we insert that one at the same. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so let's just move context up here. And we are going to be in... Yeah, so this is interesting. Well, wait, should this be some feature? Because what we end up with is actually signing in. And that should be part of auth. So we have like one common way to identify if we're authenticated. Yeah, but let's look at this other thing. What actually happens here? So we verify the token, and then, yeah, so this is sending the sign in, right? I'm a little bit confused now. First, because we click sign in, and that means that we're in pop-up mode now, which means that the other page, like where the pop-up came from, is listening to sign in. So we can do this in an authentication, like a development of, and isolate that logic. But maybe it's not really that much. Yeah, because this doesn't really have multiple states. It's just what we're going to do. We're going to call. We can rather look at what we're going to do. We're just going to call verify JVT token, and then that method is going to get the JVT token, and then it's going to. Well, we do have, of course, a couple of new events. We have, so we can keep our error state. So we can still check that. So auth.context state equals, do we have an error state? We don't even have an error state. We need that. Context dot error. We have to add that. So this is going to just call this stuff. So what we need is a new context or a new state that says that we are validating the token, and that can be trigger 2 events, a result token or a rejected token. That's basically it. Yeah, so we don't need this development auth thing. My bad. So let's implement what we just talked about. So we have authenticating, and now we need a new state. Well, we need our error state, and that is, oh, sorry. It moves to, instead of having error, we move to unauthenticated with an error. Sorry about that. So if state is unauthenticated and we actually have an error in there, then we show that error. That's good. And then we need to add our verified JVT token. And that takes a JVT token. Well, it's kind of weird to call a JVT token. It's JSON Web Token. JSON Web Token token. So let's just call it JVT, set JVT. Where did it go? JVT, set JVT, JVT. Cool. And now let's just take this, and we're just going to insert this right into the, so CLI login URL. Here we actually need the environment. So we can create a provider for our environment as well. Let's just shove this logic in here first. Strung. And this is going to say this.send type verify JVT requested. That's a new event we need. And then this is going to be part of a private piece of logic, private on verify JVT. It's going to take a JVT, and then this is going to send Okay. Why don't we just do it here? And how do we know that we... Oh, interesting. If not... Yeah, this is interesting. Because here we have the actual response. This is interesting. Where we can check if the response is okay. But then we have to turn it into JSON. Yeah. But what we could rather do here is... Yeah, this is interesting. But I think we don't need to do this. We can rather do... We can rather just check for errors on the response. This is how we deal with errors from Codesandbox. We have this errors thing. Anyways, yeah, verify JVT requested. We need a provider for our environment. Let's just fix that first. Let's just copy this thing. New file provider TSX environment. Yeah, and this doesn't need, we don't need a navigator here. We need a container. So we say const environment equals use container. How do we do this? Did I just use container and pass in the... No, we actually get the container. And then environment equals container get environment and environment. And this is the thing we're actually going to return. We're not going to have this stuff because it's always available, right? So we don't need to... oh yeah, as use environment environment provider environment. Yeah, it would be nice to have like an API around this environment. The complexity is in this part. This is different sometimes, but this could be like you pass in this as a function to whatever we want to do. Anyways, maybe we should do that. Okay, let's spend the last few minutes to create an abstraction for this, so we can more easily create these providers. The question is, where do we put that? So we have components, we have app, we have providers, and we don't need that. Let's call it utils. That's a good name. Create provider. Now, the way we're going to do this is that we're going to take in a function that takes a generic, which is like the type of the thing we're going to return. And then we're going to take a callback. And this callback is going to basically return a React node. And it doesn't take any arguments. Well, it does take children. So children, that would also be react.react node. And what we're going to do here is that we're going to create a new context. from React. And then this will be null, of course. But we don't really care about this right now. Because what we're going to return here is we're going to return like the provider itself, and then we're going to return the hook. And the hook will be basically, what will the hook look like? Oops, sorry. It's like this thing. React use context, and then we could give it a name as well. That would be like for debugging purposes. So maybe we should do that. Create provider name. And then we can use the name here. Because we also need to no, do we need that? Maybe we can just, let's try make this more feature, not exposed on the React. This feature, oh my god, this feature is not exposed on the React context. Yes, and then we're going to say, yeah, let's make this a little bit nicer. Cons hook equals, it's going to be the hook, and then the provider is going to basically be yeah, it's just going to be the whatever we get back from oh, it needs access to the context. Yeah, how are we going to do this? Wait. We can rather do, let's look at the complexity of this. So the editor also has a provider that takes the navigator. It checks the navigator. Okay, so we actually have to express all of this in that callback. So I think, yeah, we just need to, yes, I know what we're going to do. We're not going to do this. We are going to context. Let's see, React context. Can I look at that? Provider. So what we're going to do, we're going to rather give this callback a provider. React.provider. And then this is going to actually return a React function component. So the provider is going to be created by calling that callback and give it context provider. Why isn't that working? Oh, types of value. If I do this, yeah, then, god damn it, stupid. Cool, and then we have the hook and we have the provider. Cool, so what I should be able to do now, I should be able to go to the environment and I should be able to, let's not call it, let's call it component instead. Let's do this. So we return a component. Yes, so this is nice. So const provider, we can even say component hook equals create provider environment, and then we just give it this thing. Okay, create provider. we'll get the provider component there, and we need to return. Yeah, I don't think we actually need to type this now, because now children is React Node already, which is nice. And basically we say provider here instead. Nice. This is kind of nice. And then we just say export const use environment is the hook. And then that will be the component. That's nice. That's cleaner. Now we should be able to do this for the rest as well. So let's just refactor the others, and then we'll stop here. And then on Monday, we'll actually finish our authentication. Wow, this takes a lot of time. But yeah, hopefully it's hopefully it's useful. Let's see. Let's copy this. Where do we have our different providers? We have an editor provider, so let's create that. Component hook, create provider. Here we want to create an editor. Oh, haven't I import editor? Oh, there it is. And then we're going to use this thing. Remove that in there. Oops. In here. Now we're going to use our provider. Then we don't need this. We rather say hook, and we say export editor provider. Oops. Equals. Oh. Ugh. Oh. Equals component. So that should work the same now. And then we have our environment. Yeah, that's the one we, I guess, navigator. Navigator. Use navigator. Ooh. There we go. And then we do this. We got our provider there. Navigator. This is happy. And we say navigator provider is the component, and the use navigator is the hook. Great stuff. That cleaned it up. That certainly cleaned it up. That's nice. Okay. So let's just keep it here so that we understand. Okay, let's just use environment. Oh, sorry. Environment. Use environment. So this would be, oops, authentication CLI endpoint. Was it that the same? Yeah. Yeah, but this is not on click, prevent default. Oh, so this is kind of like, yeah. And this doesn't really need the href because we're just, okay, it's just for fun's sake. Okay. What we want to do is auth well, basically open CLI login. Open CLI login pop-up. That's basically what we want to do. And you could say, why don't you just keep that code in the component? It's because I don't want the components to do any application logic. I want the components to care about rendering UI and nothing else, because that's complex enough for a component. And then we have more control on when the logic is actually run. So this would be like, this would actually send a request to the state machine, I think. Yeah, because you shouldn't be able to open this at any point in time. It will send a request to open the pop-up, and then we attach that event to the actual state of the authentication where it actually can open that pop-up. Right? Cool. So let's just keep this for now, and I'll have to say goodbye for now. I would love to work more on this, but I have to prepare for some meetings. So thanks for following along, and I'll talk to you on Monday, I guess. Bye for now.